Hey, listeners, we are trying something new tonight.
That's right. We're switching it up.
We have a guest host.
Yep. Christina Basham is in the house with us.
I prefer to call her Madam President. You probably remember her from previous podcasts. She's the president of the Columbus chapter of the USBG, as well as the chair of the USBG Education Committee. She's also the owner and creator of Bubbles and Agave.
And tonight she'll be speaking with Nate Howe.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars.
Hello, listeners. I'm your guest host, Christina Basham, and my guest tonight is Nate Howe from Rye River Social. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Happy to be here.
So, I've got some questions about your current workplace, Rye River Social. What can you tell us about that? Where is it located? How can we find them on social?
We're in Grandview. We're in the old Bar 145 space, kind of tucked away in the back there. I'm pretty sure everything on social media is just at Rye River Social. I know we're on Instagram and I know we're on Facebook. I'm not sure if we have a Twitter account or not. That's
Who uses Twitter anyway?
Exactly. They tell me to make cocktails pretty and then they're going to take pictures of them. And then, after that, it's out of my hands.
And what's your role there?
I am the beverage director and bar manager.
And how did you stumble into that position?
Honestly, it was really quality networking through the USBG. It was a thing with Steve LeBar. He came to me and he's like, "Oh, a guy that I know from my past is going to be opening a spot where Bar 145 used to be," and I immediately was just like, "Bar 145, pass." I'm like, "No." That's not my scene. That's not what I'm trying to do. But thanks for the offer. And he's like, no, they're going to go in and they're gutting it. They're going to start a completely new concept in there. And I was like, all right, well, it never hurts to take a meeting. Let's sit down and see what they have to offer. And then I walked in and saw what they had done with the place. And I was immediately just like, nope, I want this. Whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. And the thing that's really great is that, the owners are very knowledgeable about the industry, but this is kind of their first go into craft cocktails and fine dining. They're more of a beer and burger kind of background. So they've been very open to kind of, taking my word for things and listening and not really trying to tell me how to do my job, which has been, a huge headache in the past with other places where it's like, I understand that, owners put up a ton of money, but that doesn't mean they know everything. And it's really refreshing to work with an ownership group that understands that, I'm in my position for a reason, and they've been super easy to work with and kind of let me do my thing. And I think, it's going really well. So hopefully it's just, up from here.
That's pretty amazing. Now, I should have asked this, but how do we find you on social?
You can find me on social. My Instagram is Don Hobo,
which we'll talk about
later.
It'll be very fun.
And that's pretty much what I use. I mean, I have Facebook and that, but I don't really do much with it. Honestly, Instagram is just kind of how I keep in touch with, people that, industry people, certain friends, and then I have my business following. So
Facebook is a deep, dark well of sadness and despair.
It really is. So I just try to avoid it, It's like the one that I use to keep in touch with all of my elderly, relatives.
So you're saying that old people use Facebook? Just kidding. I'm on Facebook more than any other social channel, so that tells anything about my age. Yeah. I'm like, what is Snapchat? I don't even know how to use it. I do have one, but I actually can't figure out how to even get in there.
Snapchat is a mystery to me. I've never tried. Even if Instagram filters is about as, inclined as I get.
Do you have a favorite Instagram filter? Because I have developed one, and I'm just curious if you have one that you always go to.
This is going to sound really cliche, but Amaro. I mean, I love it. I like just the kind of it looks like a dark bar.
It's like a sepia almost washed. Mine is Clarendon because I like really bold, bright. So I like to start too bright and then scale it back down. Probably all.
If I want to go brighter, I use Juno.
Juno's good.
So Those are my two.
Dog Patch is also a good one.
Yeah.
Check it out. So you were talking a little bit about the food and beverage at Rye River Social and the fact that your owners didn't have kind of a background in that. So can you tell us more about the food and beverage and what people can expect when they come in to visit you?
Basically, what we're trying to do is we want to give them like a 5-star, fine dining quality food, craft cocktails in a more relaxed social atmosphere. We want everybody to feel like, they can come in. It's like if you want to get dressed up and come in and have a date night and sit and have a really fancy meal, we can do that for you. If you, are just out with some friends and you want to stop in and you're wearing, t-shirt and jeans and just have a couple of drinks, we want you to come in then too. You're going to feel comfortable kind of no matter what you're doing in there. It's just, a place for everyone to come and hang out and just, we want to deliver 5-star service, but take kind of that pretentious side away from it. It's like, just come in and have fun,
I assume there's a lot of whiskey on your
There
menu,
is a lot of
or
whiskey. We are whiskey focused with, our theme, and I'm trying as hard as I can to put together a good whiskey list, but in a control state with limited allocation, it's slow going. And coming off of a pandemic, the budgets are pretty limited right now. So we're doing the best we can. We have a really great single barrel from Watershed, and honestly, luckily we bought that before we opened, and as I sell that, the money that brings in allows me to add new labels every week, so it's been a real win for us. But with the cocktail program, whiskey people drink whiskey. They want it neat, they want it on the rocks, they want an old fashioned, they want a Manhattan. They don't vary much. So I put together a cocktail menu that really focuses a lot on all the other base spirits. If you want, vodka, gin, agave, whatever it is that you're looking for, we want something for everybody on that list. So the cocktail program is very diversified because, like I said, the whiskey drinkers, I could put together 20 fancy whiskey cocktails and they're still going to be like, I'll have an old fashioned
or a Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's really smart because you look at demographics of who drinks cocktails, and it's definitely more women drinking more clear spirits. And not to say that there aren't a ton of women out there who drink whiskey, myself included, but think for your demographic of your area in Grandview, that was probably a really, really sharp move.
Yeah. I mean, my last gig was up in Powell, and I feel it was very similar, where it's like, it's a little more of a suburban feel. It's, people that, they have money and they have, good taste, but they don't really venture out of their comfort zone. They like what they know, and that's kind of how I focused. The cocktail menu may not be exactly what I'm looking to drink every night, but it's definitely something that we can market in Grandview very well. So at least that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
What's it been like during the pandemic? I feel like you had mentioned that your soft opening was supposed to be March 13th.
Our soft opening was March 13th.
Soft opening was March 13th.
Friday the 13th. Somewhere along the line,
lucky.
it was decided that it was a good idea to open on Friday the 13th, and everything was going to go smooth and nothing bad would happen. And sure enough, 48 hours later, we get the call that we have to shut down, and it was rough. I mean, there's nothing worse than being in a bar where it's like you're coming off of a really great soft opening. Like, we had friends and family in, the place was hopping, everybody was having a good time. And then, like I said, 48 hours later, you're in this environment where you've got 3 owners pacing the floors on their phones, calling, whoever they can think of to find out more information, what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, we're getting shut down. You've got a whole staff that you have to furlough. You've got, a kitchen full of food. You've got batched cocktails. You've got, a couple of weeks worth of, mixers and juices and stuff that, we've put a lot of time and money into. And it's just like, well, where do we go now?
Yeah.
So it was a really dark feeling. Like, we were all just kind of like, what do we do? You're just kind of at a loss. And luckily, I said, our ownership group, they're great. They went well out of their way to reassure everybody that we're not going to let this stop us. It's like, we put too much into this. We believe in this. And it's like, as soon as we can bring everybody back, we're going to. Whatever we can do in the meantime, let us know. But you know, you take that for what it is. Everybody says that, but you just don't know. And originally it's like, oh, we'll be shut down for a month, and then 2 months, and then 3. And
yeah, the hits kept coming. I was kind of in between. March 13th was technically my last day with Middle West Spirits. And although I still went back on Monday, Sunday was pretty crazy for me because I was supposed to be transitioning to a job at the Greater Columbus Convention Center, and 2 days later went in to fill out my own paperwork and then told my job was dissolved. So it's pretty wild, and I think that's a great way to describe it. And I think that I've seen a lot of really great support throughout our community, people trying to lift each other up and just do what you can do. And I know everybody's kind of pivoted a lot within what they're planning to do. Some bars have turned more into bodegas. What things have you guys done to kind of just offset the challenges?
Honestly, there wasn't a whole lot we could do without really redesigning our concept because, like I said, the food program we have in there is, fine dining quality, and none of that travels well. It's not like we can do to-go food. And, when you're doing craft cocktails, it's like you can put a few of them together as to-go cocktails, but a lot of it, if it's not, mixed fresh, or shaken properly or, put together right, it's just not the same experience. They're not meant to travel or be done at home. So really we kind of just, we took the time off and, I made the best of it. I was in there as often as I could, putting together some barrel-aged cocktails because I was like, well, these will be ready when we come back. It'll be great. Right. Kind of looking at the cocktail menu being like, well, when we come back, where can we maybe add a little bit of bottom line profit? It's like, let's put together some good cocktails that are going to be a little more, cost effective because we're going to be coming back with really tight budgets, that kind of thing. Trying to make your program a little more efficient because you're going to be on a limited staff for a while. So like taking off egg white cocktails and replacing them with, something where I can pre-batch, so I only, need one person working the bar instead of 3. So it's that kind of thing. We were just kind of like, we wanted to stay the course, but, we had to learn how to do it like on a tight budget and with limited seating when it finally did come back. So
if you want to make money, learn how to responsibly batch.
Exactly. Honestly, it's like
that will be on my tombstone.
It's true. It's true. And that was one of the things when I remember talking with when I was being interviewed for this job. They talked about doing kegged cocktails, and I was like, kegged cocktails are great if you can move a keg in 3 or 4 days. If it's going to sit for more than a week, it's going to taste different, by week 2. So I was like, I'd love to get there, but let's not open there. But, I like to batch, what I can. I never batch anything with, citrus in it or anything like that. Anything that's going to degrade, anything that, won't last at least, a week or so.
Yeah.
But, I'm happy with our menu right now. And I don't think it's, really set us back too far. And we're already getting ready to work on the fall cocktail list. So,
well, in that upstairs space that you guys have. So we did an event, just this past week. I had been working with Prospero Tequila, doing some fun stuff for them, and they were going to be hosting Prospero and Clyde May's whiskey are in the same portfolio. And so Nate and I both know Ashley Finch and Ashley Finch Brown, Crashly. She has a lot of names. And so she asked me to come on and do a little agave cocktail before this really very intimate whiskey tasting. And there's a really cool space if you walk in up to the right that is like, feels like a smoking room, beautiful bar, beautiful chairs, like velvet wingback chairs. And I was like, when can I come back here? Because this is gorgeous.
That was one of the selling points for me. Like when I walked in there, like, there were no tables or anything like that. They were still working on, the contractors were still in there, but the upstairs bar was pretty much finished. And I walked up there and I was like, this will be, the room. This will be like, it'll be the laboratory. This will be the event space. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. That Clyde Mays event was awesome because it felt normal. It was like, oh, we have people in doing a whiskey tasting. And thankfully, Ashley was local because it's like, where are we going to get a rep to come and travel right now? So it's like, who's local? And like, and luckily Clyde Mays, they make a great product and we put together something great. Everybody, had a good time.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. So
got some cute pictures too. Leanne wants to know, what is it like enforcing the wearing of masks and cutting people off at 10 o'clock?
Honestly, it's been relatively easy for us. The clientele, they understand it. It's like, it's the law. It's like there are times when, we first reopened and, we asked people to wear masks or to, practice social distancing, and it was just our policy and they wanted to fight with us. But now that it's the law, it's like, well, what are you going to say? It's like, I can't argue with it. You can't argue with it. It's the way it is. If you don't like it, I'll be polite once. After that, it's like, come on, But
going to have to be firm with you now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not going to risk my liquor license or it's like, we're still limited seating. I can't afford to close my doors again. And I'm not going to, do it for you just because you're too lazy to wear a mask. So it's a minor inconvenience for you. Feel bad for all of us behind the bar who have to wear a mask for 8 straight hours,
Very true. Because even just the hour-ish that I was in one, I was like, I'm not built for this. Yeah. I would be in big trouble if I was back behind a bar full time because I was sweating up a storm. Yeah. It was not cute.
And I can't even imagine, like, the servers who are running around and they're out on the patio when it's 90 degrees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah. I think if you have to wear it to come and sit down, come on, I
think we were all pretty spoiled in the ways that we're so lucky that this industry is so casual and you can kind of make what, do you want to work 3 nights a week or 7? Do you want to, you can choose where you work. Do you want to work in a fine dining atmosphere? Do you want to work in a pub? Like, you can find places that reflect your personal interests and kind of energy. And I think that we are really lucky to be able to do that in a lot of ways that a lot of jobs and careers are just kind of like, this is what your space looks like. Yeah. But I mean, I think we're quite lucky. I know there were points in my life where I was like, probably should not have made that much money for that amount of work because I had way too much fun. But like, you also are sacrificing time, weekends, physical like wear and tear on your body. So I guess there's a whole other side to that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, I see most of my friends with 3 feet of oak between us. Yeah. It's and it's fine. It saves me money. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting to that point where it's like, there's the difference between the career bartenders and the people who are just like, I need a job. And, it's a tough business to be in, mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's like, it's long hours, it's hard work. It's backbreaking labor a lot of times, but there's just a part of you that loves it. And mm-hmm. no matter how hard you try, you can't get away from it. So
yes, I understand that feeling. Tell us about Don Hobo Tiki.
Don Hobo Tiki is, a side project that I have that I've been doing for probably about 4 years now. I mean, it's one of those things where I have been a tiki fan, the drinks, the culture, everything that goes along with it for a very long time. It goes back to my childhood. And, when the tiki, resurgence started, I started collecting mugs. And after a while, I ended up with about 750 mugs in my collection. Oh my God. It got to the point where, it was an addiction. And they always say it's like when you can turn a hobby into a revenue stream, it's always a good thing. What's the saying? It's like everyone should have 3 hobbies. One that, an artistic hobby, one that enriches them, academically, and one that makes them money. So this is one that, makes me some money. I decided that as I got to know the scene a little better, I was buying and selling a lot of mugs and trading. And then I decided I wanted to design my own mug. And I did a design for Porco Lounge up in Cleveland.
Love those guys.
Yeah, Stefan came to me and he was like, I want to do a mug. He's like, all the mug makers, let's make it happen. And I was like, awesome. And I was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't care. Make it look cool as long as it's interactive in some way. And I was like, okay. So we came up with this cannibal mug with a pig, and it has a garnish pick that goes through the pig, and it has a little curly tail on the back, and then you can put the cherry on the other end.
That
so it looks like it's in the pig's mouth. And it came out looking really great. And it came to life. Tiki Diablo out in California, and a guy named Danny Gallardo, who's incredibly talented. He took my ideas and turned it into a mug. And then when I did my first, I called him up again. I was like, hey, Danny, I've got this idea. I'm going to send you my really terrible sketches because I can see it in my head, but I can't get it on paper. And he made me a really beautiful mug. And that came out about 2 years ago. and it's been just kind of slow going since. About 6 months ago, my buddy John Hampton, who is a bartender, he was a bartender at Schmidt's for like 15 years, and then he's been at Four String and Kindred, and now he's at Gamut in Old Town East. So he's been in the beer scene forever. He decided, he was like, hey, let's do this tiki thing, and he helped me fund our last mug, which was an import mug. We had 1,000 of them made. It's called Moai Bob, and the company in China that made them for us messed it up, and they sent us 500 of the wrong color mugs. So our 1,000 mugs turned into 1,500 mugs because then they sent us the right ones. And it's great to have all that product, but it's a lot of inventory to move. So we're finally getting through that, and we've got our next mug in the works now. We've got 2 actually in the works right now. So hopefully, when COVID wraps up and we can start getting back to the events and stuff, we'll have some new products to sell.
Maybe one day we'll do a Bubbles and Agave tiki mug.
Yeah. And
you can only put agave cocktails in it. I see like pokey. I see like fronds coming out the side.
It's there's actually somebody did an agave mug. It basically looks like a cut down piña.
Okay.
And I know 2 different brands. I think Patron was one of them.
Patron has one for sure.
They
Short
did
and
it,
stout.
but yeah, and it was a generic design. They just threw their label on it. But I could get you some. Throw your label on it.
I want the whole
thing?
plant. Yeah.
So basically, you'd have to make a pretty big mug, and it'd be really hard to hold, but we could do it.
We'll figure it out. It'll be great. Okay, so I have some kind of cheesy questions that I'm just really curious about.
Okay.
Guilty pleasure cocktail. I know you said you don't really drink a ton of pot cocktails, but if you were to imbibe,
guilty pleasure. Well, I don't feel guilty about any cocktail that I drink. Honestly, my go-to favorite cocktail is I like a really nice dry Tom Collins.
Nice.
It never gets old. It's like anytime, and like I said, you can go into pretty much any bar and find a decent bottle of gin and talk them through.
That's true.
A nice dry Collins for me. It's like, you got soda, you got lemon, you got sugar. We can do this.
Right. I'll tell you how to do it, even if you.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'll be really nice about it.
Like,
but
I've been to plenty of bars where they're like, we don't have Collins mix, and I'm like, that's okay, you're in luck.
Your go-to spirit? Would you say it's whiskey?
My go-to spirit is probably gin. It's been whiskey as of late, especially with this new job that I'm in. I'm always, focused on, what I'm doing in the moment. But it's like, I usually tend to fall back on gin. I've always been a fan of gin. I don't know why. I just love the botanicals,
Yeah.
I also like working with gin because it fights back. Mm-hmm. It's like you can't just throw a mixer at gin and just make it work. It's like, it fights you back. So you got to learn how to nuance it. And I kind of like that. It's kind of stubborn like me. So
one of my favorite gin cocktails is really just, it's not a highball technically, but grapefruit juice, cinnamon syrup, and gin for like fall, winter. It's such a great, easy 3-part cocktail. And I'm obsessed with grapefruit in general. So but it's so fun. It's so easy. You can sub up like split base pimento dram and simple if you need to kind of like create that. But
yeah,
I like gin a lot. I love agave, of course, but gin is probably my number 2 at this point for the last couple of years. So I feel you on that. You mentioned the USBG.
Yes.
And we love having you as a member of the USBG in Columbus. And he's talking about his crazy amount of tiki mugs. And during the pandemic, we did a lot of like weekly education for the state of Ohio. We had a happy hour every Friday, virtual happy hour, and we tried to do some other things. And he would come online and you would just see like floor to ceiling boxes in this office. And I remember thinking like, that's a lot.
Well, yeah, living in where I'm at now, it's like I do have a severe lack of storage space. So my office is also my warehouse space. So it's like, yeah, I've got boxes from floor to ceiling and, my little desk in the corner that if you saw, like there's a path you walk in and then there's the chair and like literally I can just kind of pivot and grab anything in the room.
So if you were a young bartender, what would you tell Nate Howe today? Or what would you tell young bartenders in Columbus? Craft, not craft? Doesn't matter where they work. Like, is there any advice as a seasoned veteran of this industry?
My advice for anybody really, it's just like, never forget that we're in the hospitality industry. You know, I think back and, you know, it's going to sound cliche. Everybody's going to be like, oh, well, it's just what Gaz said, you know, where it's like, give them a good experience. It doesn't matter what you put in their glass at the end of the day, because they're not going to remember that. They're going to come back because they had a really good time and you made them feel welcome, you know, and that's what we do. And with this resurgence in craft cocktails, I see a lot of bartenders where they're more interested in, you know, being the craft mixologist and less interested in being a bartender. And I don't care how good your drinks are. If I don't have a good time at your bar, I'm not coming back, you know, or, you know, if you like making 15% tips, you know, be worried about the glass more than you're worried about the customer. It's one of those things. We're the hospitality industry. You drink what you like. If somebody wants to come in and drink, you know, Bud Lights all night, you give them the same, you know, attention and, you know, the same respect that you would give anybody who's coming in and ordering, you know, $80 shots of whiskey. You know, it doesn't matter. Important. And you'll be surprised because, you know, as a bartender, you know, it's like when we go out at the end of the night, I'm not looking for craft cocktails. It's like, I just want to go out and have a beer and a shot and just relax. And so that guy at your bar could easily be another bartender, and you know they're the best tippers. So it's just like, you know, don't judge people. Just you know, remember hospitality first, and everything else will fall into place.
And if money's driving you, it's probably not going to be a great career, because at the end of the day, you know, every day is different, and we like to make money and we like to have nice things, but
yeah. And you know, and the other thing is, if you do go to the craft side, it's like you're never going to make, you know, a fortune, because you've got to love it. I mean, I can always make more money serving beer and shots on a campus bar than I will making craft cocktails, because it just slows you down. You can't turn the numbers, and you got to love what you do, and you know, just take your time and learn as much as you can. It's a constantly evolving, you know, situation. You know, what's popular now is not going to be popular in 6 months. If you think you know everything, you really know nothing. You know, it's like, always be looking for what's next. Always be open-minded, you know, and you'll have a lot of fun. You'll have more fun that way.
Yeah.
Don't take it so seriously. It's you know, it's as much as you can spend thousands of dollars, you know, buying really fancy booze and really fancy glassware, and, you know, setting yourself up, you know, to put out the fanciest, you know, crafted cocktails. You're not going to have any fun unless, you know, you're actually, you know, you're
into what you're doing.
Enjoy what you're doing. You know, it's like, you can't buy happiness. If you love this, you know, business, you're going to love doing it, and you'll do it no matter what. It's nice when you get to play with fancy toys and fancy spirits.
That's true.
But, you know, like I said, that comes with, you know, time.
Yeah.
Join the USBG.
Yeah.
They bring it
Join
to you.
USBG.
Yeah.
Lots of resources there for you. Bad shameless plug.
It's the best organization when you want to taste fancy spirits for free.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, once you pay for your whatever. But
yeah.
USBG is actually considering making next year donation only. So that's a great opportunity for someone who can't stomach the $125 a year. I think that's great. I hope that it really allows us to get some new fresh blood and really be able to show people what the USBG is capable of doing. And of course, we're managing a lot of challenges right now.
Yeah, it's rough. But
I don't want to assume that you have failed at anything ever, because I'm sure that you've done everything perfectly always. But
yeah, correct.
do you have a story about a challenge that you overcame? It sounds so cheesy, but it is always really interesting to see, because people consider challenges so differently. Like, something that might be challenging to you might not be challenging to someone else. But was there ever a moment that you were like, this industry isn't for me, or like in your
There have been, honestly, plenty of times where you just want to like hang it up and you just get frustrated. Honestly, my biggest frustrations have come from, I don't want to say, well,
we can edit.
Poor management, poor ownership. Bartenders are viewed as unskilled labor by a lot of people. I have a very hard time with especially, you know, bar owners and bar managers who treat their staff poorly, who, you know, just don't treat them with the respect they deserve, or anybody in the service industry. I have a hard time. It's like, you know, we work hard and we deserve the same respect as anybody. Just because you write our checks does not give you the right to talk down to us. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's a hill I will die on every single time. It's like, I don't allow anyone to disrespect my staff. And I don't allow, you know, I just don't allow us to be like swept under the rug. You know, it's like, you know, it's like what we do is a choice, and we work very hard. And, you know, absolutely, you know, I don't care if you think I deserve the $25 an hour that I make at the end of the night with my tips or better. I've gotten here because I'm good at what I do. And yeah, so I've died on that hill a few times. So,
well, thank you for your insight. And I completely agree. And I will have to say that being in this industry 17 years, the way I was treated originally, being a server or a young bartender, and now, you know, I think if you take yourself more seriously, then maybe everyone else will too. So that probably is a little nugget. Like, absolutely, take yourself seriously, be a professional. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be, you know, buttoned up.
But that's also a lesson you can teach a lot of young bartenders. Be a professional. Yeah. You know, being a bartender doesn't mean getting drunk behind the bar every night. Right. You know, it's like, be a professional, be proud of what you do, show up, you know, and put forth your best foot there. And you don't be the drunk idiot behind the bar.
Yeah. You always think that you're way cooler. I was that girl. I definitely used to drink behind the bar in certain situations. And you think that you are on fire, and you are not.
No, you're not. No.
You are not. Well, it's time for us to make a cocktail. Well, I'm not going to make it because it's not my cocktail. Can you tell us about the cocktail that you're going to make today?
I will tell you about the cocktail. This is actually the whiskey cocktail that I put together for Rye River because, you know, we had to have one good one, a signature, there, I think. Yeah. And it's actually one now that I batched up before, and it sold really well, and so I decided to turn it into a barrel aged cocktail, and it's been going for about 3 months, and it does develop nicely. So I would recommend, if anybody is looking for a cocktail to barrel age at home, this is a good one for them.
And what is it called?
It's called the Scottsdale. Okay. Basically, it's kind of a play on a Manhattan, but it's got a little bit of a southwestern flair to it. It's spiced with a little bit of ancho reyes and a little bit of amaretto. So you're getting a little bit of almond, a little bit of chili, and I use the Amaro de Angostura in it.
That's good stuff.
Because it adds a little bit of sweetness, but it kind of pulls everything together really nicely. And it's made with Middle West rye. I use that as the base. So
the pumpernickel rye is definitely one of my favorites.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think it is the best distilled spirit in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. Well, we're going to get to stirring, and we'll be back.
Oh, boy.
This is delicious.
Thank you.
Will you tell me more about what's going on in this puppy?
Sure. I mean, it's a take on a Manhattan, like I said. Basically, I based it with rye. I used the Middle West rye, an ounce of that, and then Carpano Antica. You know, you can use any sweet vermouth that you have. It's really, you know, a personal preference of mine. But I also hate the price point on that. So if I'm at home, I usually make things with.
Kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah, Dolan's usually my go-to.
I really like Coqui Torino a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my other favorites as far as a sweet vermouth.
And then, we fortify it with a little bit of amaretto, so almond liqueur, ancho reyes, so that's an ancho chili liqueur.
Ancho chili liqueur, which I'm pretty sure Campari picked up this year with Montelobos.
Yep, I believe
so.
You're right,
really curious to see how that changes.
So I remember many years ago, I couldn't tell you how many, when Ancho Reyes was first launching, it was only in, I want to say it was like New York and San Francisco or something like that. But I was in a tiki bar in Milwaukee, and the guy who owned it, who was the bartender that night, really nice guy. He's like, "Hey, I've got this buddy, you know, who's a rep, and he brought me a bottle of this stuff, and I loved it so much. I was like, can you get me more? And he sent him out a whole case of it, and he made us Ancho Reyes daiquiris that night.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
It is spectacular and delicious. And I just remember being like, this is amazing. I need to have this.
How have I not had
How
this?
do I not
I'm
have
really
that? He's like, and that's
disappointed
the thing
myself.
is, he's just like, well, you can't get it. And I'm just like, well, you have it. and I was like, can you sell me a bottle? And sure enough, he's like, well, I can't sell you a bottle, but he's like, buy a couple more drinks and you might get to walk home with one.
That's all.
So I may have had the first bottle in Ohio. I remember coming back and getting together with some friends, and I was like, you gotta try this stuff. Cause we've all worked with, chilies and stuff like that before, but this one, it's really unique. Ancho chilies are, kind of have that, it's almost a fruitiness to it, like a spicy raisin kind of flavor.
That's a great way to describe it, actually.
And it was just magic the first time. And then, Reyes Verde came out, and that has, the more traditional jalapeno flavor. But I use Ancho Reyes in a lot of different things. I love it. It's just, it adds that little bit of bite. And so many people will drink something and be like, is there cinnamon in this? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's like, what's that?
Would you say it's your bartender's ketchup? Remember that? Do you remember what the original Saint Germain?
The bartender's
oh my
ketchup.
gosh, bartender's. Not sure what it needs. Just put a little splash of Saint Germain in there. So funny. And then of course, the Saint Elders and all the other like kind of duplicates of the elderflower. But
yeah, see, honestly, I like Saint Elder because I think it's not quite as sweet as Saint Germain. But I remember living I grew up in New England, and I lived in the Boston area for a long time. And I remember when Absolute Vodka came out with their Absolute Boston, and that was black tea and elderflower. And that's what got everybody started in Boston. They were like, ooh, what's that flavor? I like that. And then, then Saint Germain started getting more prevalent, and it was just downhill from there.
I feel like it's making a comeback because I feel like the mid 2000s, I think it was 2008 when it was released. And I feel like when I was living in Denver in 2011 and 12, it was quite popular. And then I wasn't paying attention. And I feel like it definitely had its moment in Columbus, but not like it had its moment in major markets, probably because it was more accessible. But I feel like I've seen a few people who've been, strong enough to use it recently.
Like guilty.
And I'm like, yeah, good job. Like it's not a bad spirit. People just got hit over the head with it for too long. It's like using peach or, some of these other quintessential flavors that people are just like, okay, can we do something else, please?
It's in my 2 most popular cocktails at Rye River.
That's because it's delicious.
I go through cases of it.
I'm like, who's the rep for Saint Germain?
Well, actually,
I'm
using Saint Elder, so
you're using Saint Elder.
I get it from Heidelberg.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So, and it's the price point is great, and like I said, I think it's a good product.
I know it has a lot of fructose in it, but there's also another, and now it's totally. I can't even think of the brand. I don't know if Giffard does an elderflower.
And Bitter Truth does an elderflower.
Bitter Truth does an elderflower. That's really good. Yeah, they do great.
They both
I feel
do.
like we never
Giffard
got to
does
keep
one
much
too,
of. I would take anything Giffard does, and I think that if you are, it's like the mature, refined version of a bartender bottle, in the way that like flavored vodkas were like the thing that made bartenders' lives easier. Like Giffard, their portfolio is fantastic. It's delicious. Yeah. You have it on your back bar. You pair it with a clear spirit and a carbonate. You're like, ready-made cocktail. Let's go.
My well, while we're on the topic of Giffard, I do a Paloma, and I just use Giffard pamplemousse and soda water, and a little bit of Ancho Reyes and some tequila, and it's just money.
Hello.
Yeah.
Home run. I would definitely drink that. I don't drink cocktails, but I would drink that one.
Yeah, that one sells really well. But Giffard can do no wrong. They just it's quality stuff.
And it's not to say that there aren't better things out there, but I think when you're in a market or in a state like Ohio and a market like Columbus, like when you get a full portfolio and you know that you can trust the quality, you're more likely to go, okay, I know that these 2 flavors were really great and I really need a framboise. Like I'm willing to go pick up that raspberry liqueur from them because I can trust that it's going to be quality. It just makes your life a little bit easier.
It does. It really does.
You got any crazy stories for me?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
This is lame. I
know.
signed up for more.
I'm a bartender. What possibly could happen?
Tell us the types of bars you've worked in.
I have worked in a lot of different kinds of bars. I have been lucky enough that I have never had to work on campus. I don't have the crazy drunken college kids.
That only happens on
stories.
campus?
Well, no, but you know what I'm saying. I honestly know it's like my background was actually in food. And marketing. I started out of college. I was in the food industry. I was a cook, and that's honestly how I approach my cocktails now. It's just like, you know, I build cocktails the same way I used to build, you know, food, and cocktails were always a hobby of mine. So luckily in my formative years, I was in back of the house, and then I moved into marketing, and I did a lot of event marketing, promotions, that kind of thing, guerrilla marketing stuff when I was living in Boston. And that kept me really busy. And it wasn't until I moved out to Ohio when I started really getting outside of, you know, the occasional, like, you know, helping out gigs here and there. Like I did a lot of catering, bartending stuff and that before, but I started to take it more seriously. And I've always kind of found my way more toward the cocktail bars and less about the, you know, like the sports bars and the campus bars.
What's your favorite bar that's not your own bar?
Do
you feel comfortable saying that?
Honestly, if I had to pick a favorite bar, it would not be in Columbus, and I hate to say that.
That's okay.
But no, I have. I've got a few favorites around town that I really enjoy going to.
What's your favorite kind of bar? Let's just say that.
My favorite kind of bar.
Do you like being in a tiki bar?
I like being in a tiki bar, but I don't know. It's like it depends on the tiki bar a lot, because I feel like with tiki being super popular, it's like I like being in a traditional tiki bar. I kind of like the old kind of claustrophobic, you know, kitschy over the top. Exactly. You know, it's like, when did they last clean? You know, it's
I don't think they've dusted in here in a few years.
It's dark enough that I can't tell if my glass is clean. But at the same time, I like a really, you know, well-made cocktail. So I don't want, you know, fruit punch. And so it's kind of tough, you know, like going into, you know, if I'm in Vegas, I like to hit up Golden Tiki. I think their cocktail program is great.
I have yet to go.
Where Frankie's, you know, is a ton of fun, but it's a lot of fruit punch. If I'm out on the West Coast, you know, going to a place like Smuggler's Cove, where they nailed it as far as like ambiance, like 3 tiny little bars in one building that is just, you know, everything's kind of like falling off the walls onto you. But the cocktail program is one of the best in the country, if not the best rum, you know, program in the country. You know, Martin Kate, he doesn't know how to half-ass anything. Yeah. So, you know, stuff like that. But I like cocktail bars that are small, you know, a little bit, you know, intimate feeling, not too rowdy. I like to be able to interact with the bartender. I don't want to be shouting. I've had a lot of good times at Service Bar and Watershed. You know, it's like both their programs are always on point. I can always go in there and I can always, you know, just get a good cocktail. I don't even have to look at the menu most of the time. I can walk in there and know it's like we can just talk about what we're feeling that day, and that's been great.
That's incredible, right? Being to call for a whim and to be able to have a conversation about, you know, like what your vibe is. Like, I want to feel this way. Or
it's like, you know, just give me something citrusy with gin, you know, and like let's, you know, make it happen.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah,
just
like all of us, I miss Curio with all of my being. Knowing that Travis put together the program at Antiques on High, I was in there with a buddy of mine, and it was the best quote was he was saying that Antiques on High is the methadone for the Curio heroin addict, because you still get that vibe where it's like, you know, these cocktails came from, you know, a really great place, and they're doing a really great program.
They have done a really good job. I know that they've had to adjust some things, and but yeah, they have a frozen jungle bird. They had a frozen jungle bird that like. It was like so dry and so tart. It was fantastic. So if I would pop in, I would get like a sour beer probably, and then I would get that, and that would kind of be where I would live. But
but you know, I work in Grandview, so at the end of the night, I usually find myself at Meister's. You know,
I was just there with Ashley. That was
shocking. That's where I run into Ashley more than anywhere else on the planet.
I was there for a round, and I was
It
was good to get out of there. Like, this could be a deep, dark. I like this kind of bar too much. I'm going to have too much fun. Give me a neighborhood bar any day over. I mean, I go to where my friends work. You know, that's where I've always tried to spend money with the people I care about. But like the 8 and Sand Tavern, which
I love 8 and Sand.
I love 8 and Sand. I mean, honestly, when I decided to buy my house, Jennifer and I decided to buy our house on Hinman Avenue. Mm-hmm. Before we had moved in, while we were still in the closing process, Julie Sievertson, who had been like working side by side with me at Middle West, was like, that was her territory. And she was like, you got to go check out 8 and Sand. And I was like, okay, perfect. So we went for happy hour one day and I was like, oh, this checks all the boxes that I have for, and they had bartenders who could make classics perfectly, you know, like Carl and Al, and I mean, they have, and Cecil, like they could absolutely knock out a classic if you really wanted it. But at the end of the day, they had a craft beer list that was great. They had a really great selection of national brands and local brands. And the vibe was just, and it's like 0.2 from miles. I mean, it's like 5 blocks from my house. It was great.
And the food's not bad either.
No, the food, I remember they had shoshido peppers, seared shoshido peppers for $5. And I had been living in Italian Village right behind Mouton. So I was like, this is great. Everything is like half of what I would be paying in the short north.
Mouton's a great bar. I would get there more often if it wasn't in the short north. I tend to avoid the short north.
I think that a lot of us feel that way, unfortunately. I was just there over the weekend to pop in for one to say hi to Jill. And it's, I mean, I think it feels really commercial and it just doesn't have that grit. Mm-hmm. It's like, it even held on to a little bit of it for quite a while. And I think it's just kind of gone and it feels a little bit like South Campus, but it's like you graduated and you moved from 8th and High to 1st and High, and now
same with Denmark. You know, it's like they're doing a great program there too, and it's just like I've been in there twice.
It's like, where do you park? Where do you?
I just it's like when I can after a competition at the Joseph, I can wander down.
Yes,
there, you know?
right.
Yeah, but
hopefully they'll be able to reopen after the first of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like I go out of my way to see my friends. Yeah, so that's the only time I ever get, you know, short north downtown kind of area. You know, I've been to Citizens Trust a few times. I'll go over to Great Southern, see Jesse. You know, he's running a great program there too. Hopefully they'll get reopened again soon. He's getting stir crazy, I know.
He's getting stir crazy. Yeah, I don't blame him. I would too.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I know after a while I was stir crazy. But for him to have no idea when he's reopening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, how do you stay focused or excited or, Well, no fun stories, not anything super fun today.
I mean,
if you got one, it can be completely ratchet.
What do you want to hear? What do you want to know?
I don't know. I want to hear about naked bodies. I want to hear about sex acts. I want to hear about
you want to hear about
intoxication that you didn't overserve. Famous people, naked famous people in sex acts would be ideal. Like that's the trifecta I'd be looking for. But
I don't know if I can hit that trifecta. I can give you a story of a very forward young woman who came into my bar once, and she started off her night, you know, very, you know, quietly. She was with her friends. She was with her mom, I believe, at the beginning. Right. And I'm pretty sure her mom was the worst influence on her because she had the cool mom that drinks with her daughter and her friends. So, you know.
Not a regular mom.
A cool mom, you know, a cool mom who loved to tell the stories about how they all went to spring break together. And
she went with her
She
daughter?
went with them, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
that's not at all like the relationship I had with my mother.
And the funny thing was like, you know, at the beginning, this girl she was the quiet one in the crew. And I think it was, you know, she was waiting for mom to finally, you know, leave. And they had 4 or 5 cocktails. It got to the point in the night where it's like, you know, they'd ask me for a cocktail. I'd put a water in front of them and they didn't know the difference. But she...
You need a cranberry vodka. That's actually cranberry.
Yeah. She started asking me about my personal life and getting, you know, very forward with her feelings on me. And I was flattered, but not interested at the time. And at the end of the night, she took it upon herself to drop her glass right next to her stool. And I watched her do it. She picked it up and just dropped it on the ground. And so I come around the bar. I start sweeping. I get down with my dustpan, and she grabs the back of my head. And you can figure where she put it.
Oh, yes, this is a good one. Oh,
And at that point, it's just like, how do I respond to this?
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
it's like, this is not what I saw coming at the beginning of the night. You know, it's like, I've cleaned up vomit. I have, cleaned up many a mess. I've never had to clean the mess off my face.
That was so much better than I was ever expecting from you. I'm so
and that
glad.
is the first time I've told that story in public.
And now it's immortalized. On
So,
If This Bar Could Talk.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
So
so
there you
happy
go,
I was here
kids.
for it. Thank you.
Get into bartending. You
You
never
know,
know what's going to happen.
I think, unfortunately, in my very young years, I wasn't that girl. I probably did worse, but with permission, if that makes sense. And I'm not probably allowed to talk about that because I don't think my wife would really appreciate it. But life is very interesting behind a bar. There's like a weird like power dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I felt really great about myself when I was behind a bar. Like, I'm like, I am in control of all of this. And
the one thing I've never understood is like, I've always been, I always wear a hat. It's always just kind of been my thing since I was
I don't think I've ever seen you without
with
a
like
hat.
10 years. My dad's funeral, my best friend and roommate, who I had lived with for 5 straight years, walked in to the room, saw me standing there in a suit with no hat on, stared me right in the eyes, turned around and left, went down the hall looking for the other funeral because he didn't recognize me. So yeah, I've been wearing a hat pretty much every day of my life since I was 10. What is it with drunk women trying to take my hat?
Because everybody needs another accessory at that hour, but you didn't bring it with you.
It's just like,
So you're like, that hat is going to be really cute on me. You just have to let me show you.
I know that's been the one thing. Just like I'm never in the mood for that. Just like, come on.
You should keep a spare.
Like, it's one of the things. But at the end of the night, do you really want to know like how sweaty and gross my hat is?
They don't realize though, because they don't realize how hard you're working. Therefore, they're not processing
they're
like
not, but
jeans and lots of walking and lots of heat and like
that's the one thing I could do without. I mean, just leave my hat alone, please.
Well, Nate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I feel like I know you pretty well, but it's great to get to know you a little bit better. Go visit Nate at Rye River Social.
I'll make you a drink and I'll
Grandview.
tell you whatever story you want to hear.
He'll tell you more stories.
I have more stories, but like I said, we gotta save something.
It's true.
I gotta get you in somehow, right?
So if I want to come visit you at Rye River Social, how do I do that?
Right now, we're at 955 West 5th. Like I said, we're tucked in the back where Bar 145 used to be, behind the Firehouse Subs.
And the hydration, which I always think is really
Hydrate
smart that
Me.
you have Hydrate Me and a bar in the same strip because
Although the crew from Hydrate Me, they
get
know
down
how to
because
get
they can
down.
go hook
They can go
themselves
home
up to a
and
banana
stay-
bag the next day. Hello, they
Exactly.
should be your best regulars. They should sponsor this podcast.
They really should. But yeah, we're in the back there. Right now, we have limited hours. We're open for dinner Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4:30 to 10, as long as we have this curfew. And we're doing brunch on the weekends from 10 to 2. But those hours are all going to be changing really soon. We're going to be adding more hours. Brunch hours might get pushed back a little bit because we've had more interest at 2 o'clock than we have at 10 o'clock. So we might go 11 to 3. So honestly, follow us on social media at Rye River Social.
And follow you on social media at
Don Hobo.
DONHOBO.
Yeah, it's DON underscore
HOBO.
So
Nate
that's where you
Howe.
find me.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks
It
for
has
hanging
been a
out.
pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour, and visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, and other events and merchandise. Thanks to our producer, Greg Hansberry, and to the biographer for our original music. Please remember to drink responsibly, tip appropriately, and be cocktail curious. Cheers!
This has been a Last Call Productions production.